Hey guys, thanks for taking time to watch this. I'll try to make this quick. Um, we are wrapping up the last week in the series called The Light, which is all about being the church, and again, this tension of what it means to be a follower of Jesus and a disciple of Jesus against what it means to just identify as a Christian. This last week, I thought the message went really well. Message all about what it means to really be a disciple of Jesus, and so I hope you were there to hear that, but we're just going to be wrapping it up this week. And the way I want to do that is I really want to talk about works and faith out of James, which is something that we talk about in Boundary Waters a lot. And it's out of James 2 that says, uh, what good is it, brothers, if a man claims to have faith but has no deeds? Can such faith save him? Suppose a brother or sister is without clothes and daily food. If one of you says to him, Go, I wish you well, keep warm and well fed, but does nothing about his physical needs, what good is it? In the same way, faith by itself is not, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. And so it's this whole idea that, we're talking about being, what it means to be a disciple and living that out with love and grace and truth. And so I don't know exactly where I'm going this week, but that's one thing I'm toying with. The other thing I'm thinking about talking about is this idea that in our country there are several different generations and different perspectives. One perspective from the older generations is that we were once a Christian nation and that we've lost that, and that right now what we're doing is we're playing this tug of war game, fighting over this being our Christian nation or a non-Christian nation. And so it seems to be this fight going on. But what I've observed, being younger and growing up just in the 90s and the 2000s, is I think that we have already lost that battle. This is not our nation. It's not a Christian nation. It hasn't been for quite some time. And I think that battle was lost a while ago, if it ever really was a Christian nation, which I believe it was. And the reason I want to talk about that is because I think there's a big difference in the way Jesus followers will approach their ministry in the two different nations. The way a Christian would behave or a Jesus follower would behave in a nation that they are calling the shots, the laws are made by them, it's their place, is much different than a Jesus follower who's in a place that is not their own, where they are an alien and an outsider. I feel like that would come with much more of a love and humility, while the other one could come much more with an authoritative role, which we've seen in Christian history. And I think that's important because I think we live in a time in this culture where we need to take more of a humble, loving approach, more of an approach like we see the first century church doing, rather than us calling the shots and trying to fight for something that we don't really have possession of. I hope that makes sense. What I've noticed, what we talked about even as a staff this morning, is that all over the Bible you see God's people being aliens in the land that they are in. Rarely are they ever following Him in a land that is theirs, that they call the shots in. And it's actually, many people, Noah, Abraham, Isaac, Joseph, David, Moses, Daniel, Esther, all these people were followers, faithful followers of God in a land that was not their own, that they were exiled in or grew up in. And so I just think that there's a lot that we can do to unpack that, and the fact that God is not afraid of a godless society. In fact, He thrives in it and He works in it. Look what happened to the church in China when it became illegal, became an underground church. Now it's growing like crazy. So that's kind of the direction I'm going to go. Lastly, Acts 17, Paul is talking and he says, "It is God who chose the time and place you should live." That is exactly what we've been talking about with this. Be proud of where you are because it's your mission field. So I want to unpack that a little more for the last week, leading into our series called He-Man, She-Woman Competition, which is just going to be a ton of fun. It's really more of a fun-focused series with the games we're going to play, but there will obviously be some good content in the messages for that too. So anyway, that's what we're going to be talking about. Sorry I didn't keep this super short, but that's all, and I'll see you this weekend. Thank you. Bye.